So welcome back, and how did you go in terms of your time wasters? Let's now have a look at the top 10 time wasters. You may want to follow on with this and add these into your workbook. So time waster number 1 is shifting priorities or crisis management. My favourite term for this is MBFH. And I've seen many people over the years get caught up in actually this sort of like urgency factor or crisis factor. So MBFH, by the way, stands for management by fire hose. You know the situation, a little fire comes up. You've obviously got to get the fire hose out to put the fire out. The problem is you're also a part-time arsonist. So as you put this one out, you actually light one or two behind you. So a lot of your day could be spent just putting out fires. Very stressful. And unfortunately, as stress goes up, productivity goes down. Next is interruptions. Now, interruptions come at you from all sorts of ways. You can have interruptions from the point of view of the phone ringing, phone call interruptions, people dropping into your office, email beeping at you, just a whole series of interruptions that could easily get in the way of you producing results. Interesting with telephone tag these days. It's very rare in business when you ring someone that you get through the first time. So quite often, I leave a message for you, you call me back, I call you back. We have this discussion, what are we calling about anyway? Was it you calling me or me calling you? Not effective at all. Definitely a time waster. Next, no clear goals or a lack of focus. Now what this is about is I haven't got time to set goals, I'm too busy to set goals, I've just got to get in there and do it. It clearly is a time waster. Coming in at number 4 is a messy desk and looking for things. Now this is the interesting thing. If I was to describe, in fact not if I was, if you were to describe your desk, if I came in and looked at your desk, what would I say? This is the Personal Productivity Work Centre. This is someone who's really got their act together and they're totally focused on the main aim of the game. Or is there stuff everywhere? Are you using an interesting desk technology I refer to as random access stack technology? The average executive today spends somewhere between 3 to 5 hours per week looking for things within arm's reach. In other words, you know it's there, you just can't put your hands on it right now. So it's just not a good look. Coming in at number 5 is procrastination. And procrastination is that ability to, or that inability to move forward, the ability to get stuck in something rather than start to produce a result. The interesting thing is there's a strong link between perfectionism and procrastination. And in The Advantage, we touched on the important point of never let perfect get in the way of better. So rather than focusing on perfection, what I'd prefer you to be focused on is improving and getting better. Because providing your business is heading in the direction, advancing in the right direction, then it doesn't really matter. We can get rid of this thing called procrastination. But watch it. If you're a perfectionist, you're probably holding back on something because you want to do it perfect the first time. It's going to be very rare you're going to get it right the first time. Next, ineffective delegation. I wonder how many of you have actually delegated something out and it's come back to you late the wrong way, not at all. Next time you have that same thing to do, blow it, I may as well do it myself. So rather than using delegation as an effective and very efficient way of you starting to share the workload and freeing yourself up to do higher value work, working on versus working in, you start taking things back. Now, of course, if I recognise you're taking things back, what might I do? I start performing less than my capability because whenever I do, you take that back and don't give it to me anymore. Interesting learning. Next, the inability to say no. Here's the interesting distinction here. Everything you say no to determines what you say yes to. Everything you say yes to determines what you end up saying no to. So what we want to make sure is you're saying yes to the right things and you're also saying no to the right things. That means you're starting to get this clarity as to your workload. We'll look at this in more detail as we get into this particular learning insight. Number 8 is poor planning. I don't have time to plan. I don't have time to plan my day. What does that mean? Well, it means you get in at the beginning of your day, and what you get caught in is just doing all the sort of stuff. You've got to touch everything from yesterday before you actually start today. This is not effective. In fact, one of the most productive times for a lot of people is that first hour of their day. Don't use it to plan. Use it to actually get in and produce a result. Get some major project work done. Get things completed. Get things on the right track. Have a meeting with your team so they're all centered and focused on what needs to happen this particular day. Number 9 is poor use of systems. Now, the word use is actually very important here. In many cases, business owners and business leaders have put systems together. And this may not just apply to you, it could actually start to see some of these applying to your entire business and team. But the poor use of systems, it's not enough to have a great system, it's actually how well that system is used and how consistently it's used within your business. And wrapping up the top 10 meetings. Now here's the interesting thing around meetings. The people in meetings determine that about 1/3 of the time spent in meetings is considered by them a waste of time. So not an expert coming in and saying, let me have a look at how efficient or effective your meetings are. The people in the meetings say that. It works out to about 6 weeks per year. We're sitting in meetings when we don't really need to. You figure it out. What would you do with an additional 6 weeks in your year? So, the top 10 time wasters. Very impressive list here. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to pause the DVD because I'd like you to have a look at this and say, out of these, which ones of these have I got? Have I got a package deal, or has 1, 2, or 3 of these really jumped out? And you need to look at those and address those and do something about them well and truly. Have a great conversation right now.